The game that started it all, Resident Evil, released in 1996 for the PlayStation. You play as either Chris Redfield or Jill Valentine, and you must make your way through the Spencer Mansion, filled with many different horrific enemies from zombies to hunters, as well as many different bosses. It's safe to say in 1996, when this game was released, it was considered groundbreaking. Even a terrifying game like Resident Evil came with its fair share of cheesy moments though.
Hey, what's going on?
Jill? Is that you, Jill? What happened?
Barry, help me please. The door won't open. Quick!
Stay away from the door, Jill. I'm gonna kick this door down. Hurry! This way!
Oh, Barry!
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right. Barry, thanks for saving my life.
This one cheesy yet terrifying game was followed by 8 main series games, as well as a dozen spin-offs. Resident Evil would even spawn multiple TV shows and 10 movies. RE fans don't really like to acknowledge them though, but they're definitely a guilty pleasure of mine. In 2002, Capcom would remake the first Resident Evil game, boasting newly updated graphics as well as revamped enemies and puzzles. This game was and is still considered an A+ remake. Even with all these updates, it never lost its cheesy charm that fans loved from the first game.
Barry.
That was a close one. A second late, you would have fit nicely into a sandwich.
Really? Thanks.
No one knew it at the time, but this was the start of possibly the greatest video game remaking spree ever. 17 years later in 2019, Capcom would start on a journey to remake every main game in the series, starting with Resident Evil 2. For the most part, the remakes would be praised by critics and fans alike. Remakes on newer hardware really showed that new life could be breathed into these games that we loved when we were kids. Fast forward to 2024, the Resident Evil 4 remake was released last year and IGN's awful video was released last week. It begs the question, where does Capcom go from here? Some would say Resident Evil 5, some would say Code Veronica X, and honestly, I don't believe that saying Code Veronica X is a wrong answer. I think it's a completely valid answer. However, I believe the correct answer is RE5. But does Resident Evil 5 actually need a remake? Simple answer, no, it doesn't. But you're probably asking yourself, if I don't actually believe Resident Evil 5 needs a remake, then why would I want Capcom to go there next? The answer is simple. I believe Resident Evil 5 does not need a remake, but it certainly deserves one.
Captain Deshant here. We secured the underground route to the coordinates.
Purely from a gameplay perspective, RE5 is the best in my opinion. It includes fantastic single-player, co-op, the Mercenaries mode, which in RE5 is fantastic, as well as solid DLC. It still has its flaws that a future remake could fix. 3 of which I'm choosing that I believe would make the game better if they changed in the remake. Removing tank controls would modernize the game and give it a similar feel to the rest of the main series games. With Capcom's most recent remake of Resident Evil 4, RE5 remains as Capcom's last main series game to have tank controls in it. While I am personally a big fan of tank controls, I don't believe that in modern gaming they really have a spot. I believe with more fluid controls as well as a more open melee system in the game, it would honestly just show how great the gameplay really is in Resident Evil 5. More horror elements without reducing the action of the game too much. In my opinion, this would make Resident Evil 5 feel more like the rest of the main series games. Lastly, and most controversially, RE5 is set in Africa, so there are going to be a lot of black NPCs within the game. But RE5 definitely has some questionable NPC models, most notably in the chapters where Chris and Sheva make their way through the marshlands and the ruins. The NPCs in these areas are covered in war paint and in general seem like they are uncivilized. While there is lore in RE5 that explains why the civilians are dressed this way, I can still understand the controversy to a certain extent. I have 100% faith that Capcom never intended to come off as being racist when they created these models, but at the same time, I believe that removing this lore as well as the NPC models from the game would be 100% okay. The NPC models could wear the same clothes as models from the other chapters and it would change nothing important regarding the game. I believe it would be a small way for Capcom to show that they understand the issues that people are bringing up, while also being completely faithful to the plot of the game. I hope you enjoyed this video. I tried to make it as short as possible. I didn't want to drag too much time out explaining things, so I tried to keep it short and to the point. I think I did a fairly good job of that. This was my first attempt at making a video that required real editing, and I honestly hope I did a good job. Please let me know down below, your opinions on anything I talked about within the video. Whether you agree or not, I'm 100% interested in hearing what you have to say. I plan on doing a part 3 of this series on why Resident Evil 6 needs a remake rather than deserves one, so if you're interested in that video, please subscribe. Subscribing to the channel helps me out immensely. The last thing I want to leave you with in this video is that I stream every single night on TikTok. If you would be interested in stopping by, the link will be in my link tree down below in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.